a delegation came to see us from the South Sudan liberation movement. They were in exile, like we had been in exile for many years. And we received them with open arms because they were fighting for freedom, for self-determination, like we'd been fighting for freedom and self-determination. So in observing all protocol, I'd like to say I never imagined then that I would find myself sitting up on the stage with the President of the Republic of South Sudan and the Deputy President of the Republic of South Sudan. You have a country. You have a country. Then you had a dream, and now you have a country. And I feel so proud to be here, and so proud that we in the Constitutional Court in South Africa, meeting people from your future justice system, we shared your dream, and we were confident you would make it. And I can't help reflecting, in your case, self-determination meant creating a separate country, not to be dominated by people in Khartoum. In our situation, we didn't want a separate country. We wanted one country for everybody in the country, not just for the whites, with black people serving the whites without rights. So self-determination for us came through our first democratic, non-racial elections. And what was marvelous about that occasion was 20 million people took part in our self-determination process through voting. For the first time, we voted as equals in one country, not as black people, not as white people, not as brown people, not as men, not as women, as human beings in one country, owing loyalty to the same country. I'm also exhilarated to be able to share some of our experience in creating our Truth and Reconciliation Commission with yourselves. I feel so much for South Sudan. You fought so hard. You still have so many problems. There's still so much pain. There's still so much division. And yet I also feel proud. At an occasion like this, carefully prepared, lots of thoughtfulness has gone in. You have legislative process already quite advanced, and to share. And I'm excited by Sudan. Arabic language, for most of you, Christian religion, at the heart of the African continent. And what a bridge you could be for those of us in the South to the peoples of the north of this continent. And if South Sudan can get it right, and you're taking important moves to get it right, it can be a lesson for the whole continent. It can give encouragement to other countries that are still in turmoil. So it's a great, great challenge you have, but an enormous opportunity. 1996, I'm a newly appointed judge by Nelson Mandela in our Constitutional Court. And my phone rings and I'm told from reception, there's a man called Henry, says he has an appointment with you. And I say to reception, send him through. And my heart is beating as I go down the corridor to the security gate. My heart is beating because Henry said he was the person who had organized the bomb in my car that blew me up in Mozambique, cost me my arm and sight in one eye. He's going to South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Am I willing to see him? And I said, yes. And now I open the door and there is Henry. I'd never seen him before. Who is this man? He's looking at me, I'm looking at him. So this is the man who tried to kill me. And I see in his eyes, this is the man I tried to kill. We'd never fought each other, but he was on that side and I was on this side. And we go to my chambers and he's striding like a soldier, and I try and slow him down, walking like a judge. And we sit down and we talk. He tells me about his life. He's so proud of how he rose up in the army to become one of the heads of the hit squads to kill us. But he's proud of the fact he got through the army so well. And eventually I say, Henry, I have to get on with my work. Normally when I say goodbye to somebody, I shake that person's hand. I can't shake your hand. Go to the Truth Commission. Maybe we'll meet one day, who knows. And when he walked back this time, he's not striding like a soldier, he's walking like a defeated person. What was this Truth Commission? How did I happen to become involved with that Truth Commission? April the 7th, 1988, I'm working in the Ministry of Justice in Mozambique, helping to build up the justice system for the newly independent country. And it's a public holiday, the day of Mozambican woman. I'm going to the beach in the morning to get some sun and swimming, and something terrible is happening to me. I don't know what it is, but I just know I'm in total darkness, and in the darkness I hear a voice that's saying, Albie, this is Eva Garrido. You're in Maputo Central Hospital. Your arm is in lamentable condition. You must face the future with courage. And I say into the darkness, what happened? And I hear a woman's voice saying, it was a car bomb. And I faint back into the darkness, but with a sense of joy. That moment every freedom fighter is waiting for. Will they come for me? Will they come for me today? Will I be strong? And they'd come for me and they tried to kill me, and I had survived, and I was in the hands of Frelimo. I recovered. I had a total conviction then, as I got better, my country would get better, 1988. And I'm lying in my hospital bed recovering after Mozambican doctors had saved my life, recuperating, and I receive a letter, and it says, don't worry, Comrade Albie, we will avenge you, signed Comrade Bobby. And I say to myself, avenge me? We're going to cut off the arms, we're going to blind in one eye the people of South Africa. Is that what we're fighting for? If we get freedom, if we get democracy, if we get rights for all, that will be my soft vengeance. That will be my soft vengeance. Roses and lilies will grow out of my arm, I said to myself then. And since then, the theme of my life, the work that we've been doing, it's all been, as far as I'm concerned, soft vengeance. Coming back to South Africa, 1990, Nelson Mandela is released. Exiles return, we negotiate a new constitution, soft vengeance, not doing to them what they did to us. Then it just continues, only we stronger, achieving the ideals we set out to achieve. That makes justification for all the hardships we faced. The Truth Commission in our country had a very unusual origin. It was the meeting of the National Executive of the ANC before those elections, and we're debating a report that was sent to us by a commission the ANC had set up into violence that we had committed against our own captives. And we didn't want to come back into South Africa with the blood on our hands of our own people. We wanted to help start a new and a clean country with honesty and acknowledging our mistakes. And they said we must take steps to deal with the guards and the others who were responsible for violating the human rights of captured enemy agents. And we had a tense debate. And ultimately, Professor Kada Asmal said what we need in South Africa is a truth commission that will investigate where we own up to the failures of our own movement, but also the government, the regime. Everybody must tell their stories, tell their truth. So ironically in South Africa, our Truth Commission came about through the ANC's insistence on telling the truth and our own misdemeanors. But it also meant our Truth Commission was based on everybody coming forward, It wasn't just the victors, the people in power, saying, we're going to tell the stories of the misdeeds you committed. It had to be on all sides. The second theme was our military leaders, still in charge, still had the weapons, controlling the country, said, we've looked at the new constitutional text, and it says nothing about amnesty for us. And we were promised by President de Klerk we would get an amnesty if democracy came. We are defending democracy. We're not threatening to have a coup. But if we're going to go to jail for what our political leaders asked us to do, we'd rather leave the country. And I happened to be the one who received that message in London. I turned over the telex, the fax. I said, we can't give a general amnesty, but people must come forward and tell the truth. And if they tell the truth, they can get amnesty. And that became the foundation of our Truth Commission in South Africa. Amnesty for telling the truth. It was very specific to our conditions. You might have another central feature of your Truth Commission, but that was central to our commission. It was also central to how the commission was established. We had 3 different sections. The one headed by Archbishop Tutu, internationally known, wonderful person, not neutral. You can't be neutral about torture and death and violence, but non-partisan. Non-partisan. And it traveled around the country, and meetings were in the poor areas. They started off with people singing hymns. People spoke in their own languages. They had interpreters helping them all the time. The interpreters themselves had to get counseling and psychological support. The stories were so hard. We had the press following them, and the press played a huge role in communicating. This wasn't producing a government report. This was engaging with the people in the areas where they lived, enabling people in the communities to speak out, to tell their stories, to be listened to be acknowledged as human beings. And if there's one major lesson to learn from our Truth Commission, the process, the connection with the communities was far more important than the actual report and the outcome. It's giving people a chance to tell their stories and to be acknowledged, and for their pain to be acknowledged, and to feel we aren't equal in our life circumstances, but we're equal in our dignity. We all have a chance to be heard and to tell our stories. So that was the one section that went around the country. The second was the amnesty section that had 2 judges and 3 lay people. And they were more judicial in their functioning. And they would hear the applications for amnesty. Lots of people who robbed banks and said we were stealing from the whites to give to the blacks. You didn't get amnesty just for that. But if in the course of the struggle, you violated fundamental rights, whether it's on our side or mainly on the side of the regime, you got amnesty. And in some cases, amnesty was refused. The killing of Chris Hani, our great leader, assassinated because they didn't tell the truth. The killing of Steve Biko, our great black consciousness leader, you didn't tell the truth, they didn't get amnesty. And the third was the Reparations Commission. It was important to separate reparations from the truth-telling. People weren't telling the story to get money. You had to disconnect the two. And the theme of reparations, I feel, was the theme where we have more negative lessons to learn from South Africa than positive. It focused too much on the money. There was never enough money. It was paid too late. So many people suffered. The real reparations should have been repair, human repair, communities getting forms of attention they didn't have, people feeling their children are having opportunities that they didn't have. It was repairing relations between different parts of the country, between different races, different faith, political. These things should have been attended to far more, and I'll be happy when I speak on the more technical aspects tomorrow to speak about that. What did we achieve? I think it was vital that the Truth Commission came at a time of great forward movement in our country. For the first time, we have a black president. For the first time, we have a parliament that looks like the people. Houses were being built. Schools were being opened up. Truth Commission on its own can't carry the transformation of society. but it can remove some of the hurt, the anger that's been bottled up from generation to generation to make it easier to bring about changes. But what it did was, one American political scientist said, it converted knowledge into acknowledgement. Knowledge is the facts. Everybody knows bad things happened in this country. They can even give you facts and figures. Acknowledgement is, how did they happen? Why did they happen? How can we stop it from happening? What can we do ourselves to prevent these things from recurring? Acknowledgement was important. And there could be no denialism in future. The killers themselves, the torturers themselves came forward to acknowledge what they did. So the great value then of our Truth Commission was, it was a soft vengeance in the sense of, it didn't mean hunting down, getting the evidence against this killer, that killer, the other. Our courts would have been clogged up for years trying to find the evidence. Would have been difficult. Some people, there would have been evidence, other people, no evidence. It was a form of restorative justice. Restorative justice meant opening up the truth of what happened, acknowledging what had happened, taking steps to prevent it from happening, and going in for forms of community repair and social repair and human repair. I'm going to conclude with an idea, a theme that I came up with on truth. I was very puzzled at the time. I'm a judge, I'm a lawyer, due process of law, procedures in courts. It was the time of the O.J. Simpson trial, and nobody knew what really happened there. The Truth Commission, without the same rules, the truth came pouring out. It was credible. Why did we feel we got so much truth from a Truth Commission and we're so suspicious of court judgments? And I decided there are four kinds of truth. There's what I call microscopic or evidential truth. You figure out an area, you look at variables, you measure the change in the variables over time. And that's what science is based on, microscopic truth. There's logical truth. It's the truth implicit in statements. And for some reason, I remember a statement made to me by my literary agent in New York, when she looked at my manuscript for the book called Soft Vengeance of a Freedom Fighter. And she told me her whole life, and she ended up by saying, let's face it, Albie, men are a fundamentally flawed species. And if she's right, I'm a man, I'm fundamentally flawed. And I might just mention in passing, women played a huge role in our Truth Commission process. The men did most of the killing. The women did most of the examination, the cost, the price, the healing. And it's not to say women are all kind and nice and can't be cruel, and not to say that men can't be warm and healing. But to the extent that our Truth Commission succeeded, it was to the extent that women were involved at the community level in the structures of the Truth Commission. Women's voices were heard, not because men were kindly allowing them to be heard, but as participants in the nation. The third kind of truth is experiential truth. It's an idea that I got from Gandhi. He didn't start with the Gandhian philosophy and apply it to life. He drew inspiration from experiences he had to come to certain conclusions. And one very vivid one was when he was in the auxiliary in 1906, after the Anglo-Boer War. The British are in control, and the Zulu-speaking people rebel against oppression. They're captured, some are executed, others are being whipped, and he is part of the nursing group washing the backs of the captives. And he said, if the human body can be the site of so much pain, then I shouldn't get pleasure from it. And he gave up having sex. I might say he didn't consult his wife about that. But it was something he drew from his experience. And the strength of our Truth Commission was experiential. It's not data. You can get a scientist to collect data, an historian. It's experiential. And that's what people respond to and people acknowledge. So it's to make that commission you're setting up a live agency, an interactive agency, that the people of this country having responded to it and being connected to each other through the Truth Commission, feel more united as South Sudanese. And you don't give up your particular language or ethnicity or history. You bring it in and you share it with everybody else, as we say, united in our diversity. And the final form of truth is dialogical truth. Truth isn't something you can capture like a butterfly and you pin it on the wall. It's constantly in dialogue. It's constantly in dialogue. It's interactive. So don't expect to get a report that's going to solve everything. The report itself will be challenged, correctly so. The report becomes an important document, but the process is even more important. And out of that, hopefully, some of the pain in this country, some of the division in this country, some of the anger that has gone, I believe, from generation to generation, going back even beyond, well into the last century, some of that can be released. And the hope that's been so strong, the hope that I remember the people coming up to our office, to our chambers, speaking to all our judges, that hope will be realized. You achieved the huge, great thing, self-determination. It gives you the capacity yourselves to deal with the problems that are emerging in your own country. I'm impressed by this conference. It gives me hope that you are focusing, you have intelligence, you have thought, you are listening, you're inviting people like me to come and share with you. In the end, you will take your own decisions. May they go well. Just before I leave the stage, I'd like to offer, if there are two deputy presidents, I don't know if there's seniority amongst you. So to the deputy president closest to me, the preamble of the South African Constitution. And we've had it specially printed. And I'd like to read just the first paragraph. We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity.
There we go. We are peace building. We are building reconciliation. And we are lifting this country forward. Thank you very much, Albie, for your credible remarks.